Hello, welcome to the video. Now you will have noticed in some of my earlier videos I do use selected pieces of GoPro footage, on-bike footage, and also I tend to have a number of different overlays that I use, GPS overlays. So I've had a load of questions about how it is that I do that and what software I use to put the GPS overlay onto the videos. So I thought what I would do today is just show you what I use, a quick tutorial as to how I use it, and then you can make your mind up whether it works for you. Okay, so first of all, the software that I use is called Telemetry Overlay, and I'll put the website address in a link and also in the comments. So here we are, Telemetry Overlay. Really good website, tells you everything that you need to know, but importantly, and this is the thing that will probably put some people off, it does have a perpetual one-off license fee of 171 euros or 150 pounds. Of course, it depends on how serious you are, whether that's worth it to you. But there we go, that's the license price, £150, pay once, use forever. And in terms of key features, I mean, we're going to go through some of them now, but I mean, it really is very, very full featured. And I should add, I'm not sponsored by them. I did buy the license myself many years ago, but I found it a really good piece of software to use. And as you can see, there's lots of tutorials and other things. And most importantly, it's compatible with pretty much any camera that is able to record GPS data alongside the footage. So yeah, pay your license fee, download it and get it installed. And there's versions for macOS, Windows and also for Linux. Right, okay, well let's open the software package itself, which is Telemetry Overlay. So we'll just get rid of that. Go and open it up, so Telemetry Overlay. Give it a few seconds, we'll put it onto full screen so you can see it. So the first thing you're presented with is load video files. So this is where you can load your GoPro, your Insta 360 file into the application. So you can do it two ways. You can drag and drop. So I'll choose one, and as you can see, I'm just going to drop the video file there. Or what I'm going to do, this one, just so that you can see it, I'm going to load the video file. So I've got all my GoPro footage stored in a particular folder, and I'm going to use this one up at the top, which is 2.15 gigabytes, and it should be, I think, a recording of my trip over to Greece on the ADV 350. So let's open that up. Now the first thing it will do, or it will say that it's doing, is optimizing the file, and this is nothing more than the program, the application is creating a low resolution version of the original file so that you can see what it looks like within the application and see how it looks like with all the various tools and gauges and overlays and bits and things. Now you can skip this, and I tend to skip it once I've created a template that I use over and over again, you know, because as you can see it's taken a little bit of time. But the first time you use it, you'll probably want to optimize the file so that you can see where it is best placed for that particular piece of footage in terms of where you want to put the individual gauges. So we'll probably speed this little bit up, but as you can see, this is just over a 2 gigabyte file. It's probably taken about a minute and a half, and I'm currently running this on a Mac Studio with a Pro Max processor, so it's quite a powerful desktop. Then the next step is that it's processing the telemetry. So then it will take you into the gauges part of the application. And as you can see, there's my low resolution footage, and I can move along the timeline, and it'll take a bit of time to catch up, and sometimes you do have to press play so you can actually see it where it is. Oh, there we go, it's starting to move, and you can see some of the gauges moving there. But what I'm going to do first is we'll just go and have a look in the project tab. So you've got a number of tabs up here. So we'll just go and have a look in the project tab. And it's here where you can change some of the overall project settings. Now, over on the right hand side, you can see the details of the file. So my file name is GX010318, which will probably be familiar to people that have GoPros. And I shot this particular footage at 5K. So as you can see, the native resolution is 5312 by 2988. That will be whatever you shoot it at, and it's 25 frames per second, duration and other bits and pieces. So here, in terms of color and shadows, you can just change what the defaults are. So if I change, you know, one of these to something else, we should be able to see it change. As you can see, it changed then to a Adobe font. I'll change this to Montserrat, my favorite font. Change it to Montserrat Bold, and there you go, it changes to Montserrat. So this is where you just kind of set up your project defaults. One thing that is useful here is if you want to just make things show up a little bit better, sometimes it's better to show the gauges on a darker overlay. So this is the draws section here. So if I just, for example, pull this slider over, as you can see, it just darkens the left hand side of the screen, so it puts a dark panel there with a limited opacity so that you can see it, and then that will then get exported, and you can do the same from the bottom, you can do the same for the right. So I think that's particularly good, is where that's particularly good is when you've got, or you want to put all of your controls and your gauges in one particular part of the screen, you know. So for example, if it was on the left hand side, you could just put that shadow there, or that draw as it's called in Telemetry Overlay, and that will just help you highlight the gauges a little bit better. For the purposes of this, I'm just going to turn them off. So that's project settings. In the telemetry settings, not too much, it just tells you what's currently loaded. But what you can do is you can add separate telemetry files if your camera or your device records a separate GPS file with all the GPS data in it alongside the video footage, then that would allow you to do that. So an example that I can think of is maybe your iPhone is, or your mobile phone is recording the GPS data, and you're going to merge that with a video file, say from a camera that is non-GPS enabled. I just tend to use this for GoPro footage from my GoPro Hero 10, which records GPS footage alongside the video footage. So let's go to the gauges page. So the gauges page is the one where you design your overlay, and this particular one at the moment is a template that I've used a number of times, which is why it's coming up first. But it's all very, very easy, to be honest. So down at the bottom, you've got a list of all the gauges that you can use, and there are loads of them. So if I just click on Add Gauge, for example, or Edit Gauges. So I'm going to add a gauge. So it's got a list of the basic gauges down here, and the ones that are highlighted are the ones that I've already got in place. So for example, if I choose the dynamic map, you already have a dynamic map gauge, so that just tells me what I've already got. So what I'll do is I'm going to click here, and we'll look at the advanced gauges, and as you can see, there's absolutely loads of them. So let's add one of these. Let's add something that I haven't got, so the lean angle 2-wheel, and there we go. We've got pick the wrong one there. So there we go, that's the lean angle 2-wheel gauge. So as you can see, you just need to click on it, hold it down, and then you can move it to anywhere you want. So we'll leave it in the middle there, you know, obliterate this beautiful view. Over on the right hand side, you can change the size, you can change the colors, you can change all sorts, really, to be honest. You can rotate it, there we go. Not that that'd be terribly much use. So you can do lots of things with these gauges, and as I say, let's put that over there. Let's add another one. Let's add, what shall we add? Elevation gain, altitude versus distance. That sounds good. And look at that, you get like a little rampy map thing. And again, you can change the color, change the size, change the labels. You can change, let's change some of the colors then. Let's make that a rather vivid purple. So yeah, there we go. So you just keep doing that. Add as many gauges as you want, and then you can decide where to put them all, change the size, and as I say, there are absolutely loads of them. One thing worth noting is that there are some patterns that you can use as well. So there's some patterns that have already been produced as part of the software package. You can also create your own. So if I wanted to save this, I could save that as a pattern. I'm not, because it's a bit mad, but you can also load patterns as well, and as you can see, there's a number of basic ones. So if I load the basic pattern. It'll say load the preset pattern. Let's have a look at that. So there we go, really simple. And by using the time slider you can sort of see how it works. That's quite nice actually, isn't it? I don't know why I don't use that one. So if I go to the patterns again, you've got the moto circuit. Let's have a look at that one. And there we go, you can see lots of stuff going on there. So let's assume we want to stay with that. So maybe we just want to move that gauge over there for some mysterious reason. So the next thing to do is export it. So click on the export tab up at the top and you'll see a number of things here. Now, first thing to look at is the format. So the first thing it's saying is, or the default is finished video. So what this will do is it will export not only your footage but the overlay on top of it. Your other options are transparent videos. So what that will do is it will export only the gauges, and then what you would need to do is then add those gauges or the footage of those gauges, synchronize it and add it in whatever editing package that you use. So you would bring in the original GoPro footage, you would bring together the transparent video, overlay it, probably use an opacity, a different opacity, and also use the screen opacity version, that parameter that you can get in most video editors, and I'll show you that later. So I tend to these days just use a finished video because I don't tend to edit GoPro footage much. I mean, I'll drop it into my editing package timeline, might resize it, but that's about it. And you know, the GoPro footage or action camera footage isn't the best anyway, and the more you edit it, the more that it will start to break up. So I'm quite happy, I just tend to use the finished video. From an encoder perspective, I'll use H.265, so that's a more optimized compression codec. Bang for your buck, you'll get better quality, but it's worth noting that with all of these, MP4, H.264 and H.265, they are not editing formats, i.e. they're finished. So what you don't want to do with the resulting footage is try and color grade it too much, because it'll just fall apart. So I tend to go with H.265. I'll probably either leave it on 10. Okay, it goes up to 11. Video quality goes up to 11. How good is that? So I tend to use just video quality 10. You're going to get quite a big file. Render speed, I just stick to 6. So the faster the render speed, you're going to end up with a lower quality video file. But 6 seems to be about fine for me. And what I tend to do with the rendering is, you know, go off and make a cup of tea anyway. But as you can see, if I whack it up to 11, and then whack the render speed up, the file size goes up. So it's probably the opposite way that I said before. So yeah, so it's probably doing, when you up the render speed, it's probably doing a number of different passes, hence the file size gets quite big. So entirely up to you. It's probably worth playing with it, because obviously it depends on how powerful your machine is, and obviously how much disk space you've got as well. Down here you can use include your original audio. I don't tend to do that, because what I tend to do is then drag the audio from the original video file, and then you can choose to export it wherever you want. So I tend to say that, well, I'm going to export this to my GoPro folder, and I'm not going to call it the same thing as the original file because it'll overwrite it, so I'll just call it gauges, so that it's got a different file name. And then down at the bottom of the screen, this is where you can set your in and out points. So you might not want to export all of the video, so the second one is your in and out points basically. So what I'm going to do on this one, because I don't want to be sat here rendering it forever, I'm going to render, should we render a nice bend? We'll render that, and we'll render it from the bend to about there. So it's only a small amount, but this means it will render quite quickly. So that's all done. I've set everything up. I'm going for a finished video, H.265, given it a file name, and now I'm going to export it. So I'm just going to check how many seconds of footage this is. So we're going to do it from 56 to, what's that? So about a minute. So this is about 4 or 5 seconds of footage, and we'll just have a look at how quick it takes to render. Okay. Preparing. How exciting. So just a reminder, this is 4 minutes worth of footage rendering out at the moment, and once this is done I'll give you the full times as to how long this one has taken. But as you can imagine, if you're using a really large video file, maybe 20 minutes of onboard footage, it is going to take quite a while. And one thing that I should add, one thing that you can do is, well, with my GoPro, I don't know if this is the same with all devices, but with my GoPro, it will only record a 4 GB file. I think that's because it uses the Windows file system. And then what it will do is it will start creating another file immediately afterwards. So you have continuous footage, but it can be split up into 2 or more files on the GoPro. And if you want to bring all of those different files in and to get the full, for example, if you're using the GPS map, you want to show that, maybe you're doing a race circuit that takes, I don't know, 25 minutes, you know, probably about as fast as me on the scooter. So if you're doing a loop of somewhere, you want to show the whole loop, you can bring all of those segments of GoPro footage together, and it will also join the telemetry data together so that you can see the full path of where you've been, which can be quite useful. Again, if you bring in multiple GPS files, it is going to take quite some time. Right, I don't know how long we've been here, but it feels like a couple of minutes. Right, and there we go, the export has been done. So let's open the exported video. So it's opened it up on my other screen, which I don't think I can show, but what we'll do is we'll just minimize that for a second, bring that over there. Let's bring the file over. So this one here highlighted is the one that I've just created, so today at 13:22. So let's just run it through. So there we go, 4 seconds of video with the telemetry that I chose before. And like I say, I think GoPro footage, I always just tend to use it out of the box, really. I don't tend to do too much grading. I mean, I might possibly in my editor just raise the brightness or the exposure a little bit perhaps, and maybe put a gradient up at the top, because GoPro and action cam footage, it always exposes for the sky, and that's why a lot of the bottom of the screen can look quite dark on action cam footage. So yeah, there we go. So what you can do now is you can drag this footage into whatever video editing suite you use, and you're good to go. So that's just a very quick run through Telemetry Overlay. We'll bring it back up at the screen. As I say, it's £150 for a perpetual license, and with that you do get 1 year's worth of support, and there's also a very active online community as well, so if you need any help. Initially it seems a little bit fiddly, but to be honest with you, it's pretty simple to use. I would say that you do need a relatively powerful PC or Mac, preferably a Mac, because Macs are always better. But you know, it's really full featured, very full featured. If we go back into here, like as I say, you know, there's loads of different things that you can use, lots of different types of gauges. And yeah, I think it's a good package, and if you use it a lot, £150, you know, if you get 10 years of use out of it, you know, that's 15 quid a year. You know, it's got to be better than a Sky TV subscription. So that's what I've been using on all of my videos. So if you're interested in that, like I say, all you need to go do is just go onto the Telemetry Overlay website and take a look at it. And I think there is a free trial version as well. So yeah, there we go. Hope that helped. If you've got any further questions, let me know, and I'll see you later.